Hello FlossTube, and welcome to what is, I think, the 7th day of Christmas and the last day of 2022. So since it is the last day of 2022, I'm going to be giving you a 2022 review, and I shall be quite looking forward to 2023, which I think is slightly easier to say. Anyway, so I'm going to be going through some of the things I've stitched this year, some of my favourites. Okay, I'm going to be going through all of the things I've stitched this year, which are all my favourites, because why else would you stitch them? So these are not absolutely in chronological order, but sort of-ish a bit. So I'm going to start with the thing that I was definitely stitching this time last year and into January, and that is this. This is my favourite reproduction sampler that I've stitched this year. I mean, it is the only reproduction sampler that I've stitched this year, but I do love it. So it's a sampler that I own. I'm not going to get that sampler out because it's actually in the back of the frame. I thought that was the safest place of keeping it. The original is quite badly stained, and it's got some damage to it. There is a whole video, which I'll put a link to below, where I'm introducing this sampler. It's called Carmen, because the girl who stitched it was Carmen M. Louche, aged 9 years. It was unfinished, so there was nothing. I've been painting with the children this afternoon. There was nothing in this section here, so that's where I've put my name and age when I stitched it. One of the things that I liked about the sampler was the way that she used all different colours. So I reproduced that. It was for a while available as a freebie on my website. I released it in sort of sections, so about 2 or 3 inches worth every couple of weeks to finish the whole thing. My website's currently down, and I think it might be staying down, to be honest. But I am going to put Carmen up for sale in my Etsy shop. I'm going to put all the pattern together with the various threads. I charted it. So I stitched this one in sulky, but there are also Anchor and DMC, no, Anchor and Classic Colourworks conversions. But as you can see, you could easily play around with a lot of fun colours on this one. There are specialty stitches. There's an alphabet in 4-sided stitch, and this is eyelet stitches, Algerian eyelets. I have charted it so that if you didn't, obviously if you don't want to do specialty stitches, you can just cross stitch the whole thing. But this 4-sided stitch alphabet is exactly the same, with one exception to this cross stitch alphabet here. And I thought probably, I certainly didn't want to stitch the same alphabet twice, and probably nobody would. So I have charted it if you wanted to include a verse, a saying, and things there. And because the stitcher of this is called Carmen, what I've charted for this is a little quote from the opera Carmen, which I can't now remember, but it's something about love being like a rebellious bird, and some little birds in there as well. So all of that will be available within the next week or so, I hope, in my Etsy shop. But that is Carmen. Very sweet reproduction sampler. I couldn't find out anything about Carmen when I searched on ancestry.co.uk. The problem was not so much that there were too many to narrow down, but that there were none at all. There's no date, there's no location. The only thing we have to go on is her name, and we know that she was 9 years old when she stitched it. I have some theories about that, but you'll have to go and watch the other video to find out. So that's my favourite sampler, my favourite unfinished object. So in the post-Christmas period last year, I bought this sampler and I started it, and the plan was that it was going to be my sort of 20 minutes a day sampler. I wasn't quite aiming for 25, but sort of 15 to 20 minutes a day. And I did that on and off in January and maybe February, and then I just haven't picked it up since. But I do plan to get back to this. This is A Saviour's Praise by Shakespeare's Peddler. I bought mine in the UK from Fobbles, but you can find it at various places. I don't think it's out of print. It is going to be quite a big sampler. I'm not stitching it with the called for. I did buy the pack of called for DMC and decided that the colours were too muted for my liking. I'd seen it on Laurie Holt's channel. She stitched this and she had used much brighter colours. So that's my plan as well. They're brighter than they are showing on the camera at the moment, I think. And I'm going to make some other changes as I go, not massive changes, but I do plan to change some of the words around the edge as well. So I'm hoping to really make some progress on this one this year. Okay, I'm going to turn you off while I put you... Okay, hardest thing I stitched on this year. Yeah, this was not my favourite thing to stitch. This was in the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Club in maybe February, March, something like that. It's from Pigeon Coop Designs. Very, very distinctive designer, really beautiful aesthetic, I think. I love these landscapes with the sort of patterns worked into them. I foolishly decided this would be a fun thing to try and stitch over one on 40 count. Yeah, I really regretted that choice. I mean, I do like the finished object, but there are so many mistakes in it, so many. And this circle that I sort of put around the edge because I wanted to frame it like this. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm holding it up to the camera, but you really have to not look too closely at it. It is absolutely chock full of mistakes. And I just got to the point where I did not care. So what I learned from this is I don't really like stitching over one. Like a little bit of over one in the middle of a sampler, I can cope with it. I found this, because you know, it's basically full coverage, really hard work. I do like it on this backing fabric. I think that is Lagoon, Zweigart Lagoon. And as I say, I think it's 40 count that I stitched over one. I'm not doing that again. Anyway, I would do Pigeon Coop again, like I say, but I'm not doing that again. Okay, this is my favourite fully finished object. I'm so proud of this. So this was my Pringles can finish. It has a lid with a little needle minder in it from Caterpillar Cross Stitch. And then just, it's got a pin cushion in there. At the moment, it's got quite a lot of random stuff in there as well. So I did the design specifically for this purpose. I wanted it to join up perfectly around the edge so there'd be no gap and no overlap. And you know, even you can see that letter, that's a letter L, goes over the top. The finishing is not absolutely perfect. Yeah, I should have had it a little bit further down the thing and then you'd have been able to see the top of the design better. But honestly, I'm still really, really proud of it. It's got a little fox on the bottom. It's got this pom-pom trim. It's fully lined with fabric. Like I said, it's got the pin cushion inside. It was one of those sort of mad thoughts in the middle of the night. I wonder if you could use a Pringles can for a finish. And it turns out you can. So this is one of those that I'm going to maybe try and make a design that's available for sale, but it does need definitely some work doing to it to make it functional for other people. Anyway, so favourite finished object. Favourite farm animal. I really want to stitch more farm animals, but I do find it hard finding patterns that I love. Anyway, this is Wilbur. Wilbur was designed by Teresa Kogut. I was really pleased with this backing fabric. This is from Fibre Fabric Flair. Maybe they do the printed fabrics, and then I've sort of grunged it up. I mean, I sort of grunged the whole thing up. I didn't use the called for colours. This one was a bit grayer than I planned, and if I really cared, I would take that out and stitch it again, but I don't. It's fine. I love him. I absolutely love him. I love the finish on this hoop. I love the backing fabric. I love the way he looks. I really wish. She's got a series of farm animals that she's painted, and as far as I know, Wilbur is the only one she's made into a cross stitch chart. I would love to stitch her Daisy the cow. Anyway, I sent her a message, but I never heard back. More animals. I did a lot of animal stitching this year. So these are my favourite non-farm animals, maybe. Anyway, you've seen this before probably. This is my little mini book, Creatures Small and Great. So it's got, these are mainly Emma Congdon patterns from her nature book, but not all of them. The bee, the robin, the rhino. I really like that tiny rhino. The flamingos are not Emma Congdon, they're from X Stitch magazine. various sea creatures, ladybird. I'm not sure if that was Emma Congdon. It might have been. Mini hedgehog and snail. Some beetles. A little frog. And a turtle. I really enjoyed that project. I enjoyed having the little tiny things to stitch. I enjoyed the idea of making them after book, and I really enjoy the finished project. It's not perfectly done. There are things I would do differently when I do another little mini book, which I do plan to do, but I really like that. That was vying for favourite finished object, to be honest. Right, what else we got? Favourite retreat project. Ta-da! So this is obviously the Stitch in London retreat kit that we had that was designed by Yasmin from Yasmin's Made with Love. I made some changes to it, partly because obviously I made mistakes, not least because I started by stitching the outline, and I stitched this lovely square and then looked at the pattern and was like, oh, it's not actually a square. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to unstitch it. I'm just going to redo the different things in different places, and I added in the Charles logo as well as the Elizabeth logo, because obviously sadly the Queen had died by then and we had a king. And then instead of stitching the Union Jack, I put this Union Jack needle minder on it that a lovely lady at my table at the retreat gave out to us, and finished it as a little ornament. So that was my favourite retreat and retreat project. Let's keep going. Favourite sentiment. I don't do a lot of stitching of words. I don't like being told off, but I do like this. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. Yeah. I mean, yeah. There are days where that is very much the case. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. This also reminds me of the retreat. So this is Leo and Roxy floss, which Kerry was giving out, which is really kind of her. I had 2 skeins and I did need to go into the second skein for this. And the fabric was, well, it's from Coffee Craft Company, and I can't remember if this was the fabric that I bought or the fabric that I won in one of the ways you could win things. But anyway, lovely. So that was also from the retreat. Favourite Christmas stitches. I don't normally do a lot of Christmas stitching, but this year I did, of course, do some Christmas stitching. Did I get those? No, I didn't get. So I stitched, obviously, the things that were my Christmas designs. So these were the very first things that went on sale in my Etsy shop. Joy to the World, Peace on the Earth, Peace and Joy. And then there were also 2, if you bought the bundle, 2 little tiny charts, which are sort of based on the stable and Bethlehem. I did stitch those, but I haven't got them out to show you. So that was my Christmas bundle. Yeah, I think they are not my top favourite designs, but I do like them. My top favourite designs are coming along in a moment. So these are my favourite Christmas designs. There we go. Joy to the World, Peace on Earth, Peace and Joy. Super fun, quick to stitch. Yeah, I have nothing else to say about those. There are still cards in the shop. Favourite chart that I gave away. That was the one that I did for Stitch in London. So all the retreat participants got a free copy of the pattern for this, the chart for this. This was not the kit project. A few people did start stitching at the retreat, and a few more people have stitched it since. It was the first one that I did with this Union Jack design. You can see it's got the embroidery hoops and the needles, scissors, X's. Stitch in London 2022. I really was proud of that design. Yeah, I made mine up into a little pillow, as you can see, and it would be nice as a little pincushion, I think, or, you know, in a little bowl or whatever you like to put your smalls in. So that was favourite one I gave away. Favourite pillow / stand-up. Ah, here we go. I mean, I was going to say you've seen this before. If you watch my channel, you'll have seen all of these before, I think, pretty much. I don't think there's any real secrets here. But anyway, stand up, pillow. To get it the right way around. Pillow and the right way up. There we go. So pillow, cat's nails. This that I used to make it into a pillow, the striped fabric, 2 striped fabrics, that is a book of samples of upholstery fabrics. It's slightly annoying because the samples look like they're about a foot square, but they've got a big sticker on the back that's quite difficult to get off most of it. So you haven't got loads of fabric to play with, but they are really nice for finishing. So this is like a silk wool weave. And I'm never going to put this in the washing machine, so it's fine, doesn't matter. I've talked about medieval cat snails many times before on this channel. I'm sure if you have watched any of my videos, you know that this is a pattern that's available in the shop. With that, you also get a chart that's slightly adapted for this stand-up. I mean, you don't have to make it as a stand-up. You can make it any kind of small you want. I love the fringing on this. It's my Claudia Winkleman fringe. If you know, you know. And then it's got just the cat snail word up the side. I've never made a stand-up before. I used, pretty sure, one of Pfeiffer's tutorials. Put the fringing on it. I mean, I love it. It's so creepy, but he's also got that really dim smile on his face and the weirdness of the snail, and yeah, I just love it. So favorite pillow, favorite stand-up. There we go. I told you everything's my favorite. Now this is my favorite frame. I mean, it's my favorite in quite a lot of things, to be honest, but it is my favorite frame. This is from Picture Frames Express. I wanted a very particular kind of style frame and obviously size to fit the thing. And I think I didn't quite get the size right. It's a little bit wider than it needs to be and a little bit shorter than it needs to be. But anyway, the frame is glorious. And this is the one that came after my cat snails. This is Elephantine. These are medieval illuminated elephants based on. I really had fun playing with this one, and the colours and the patterns and the fitting all the different elephants together. So that is also obviously available in my Etsy shop. And again, there's a small chart that comes with it where you've got elephant on elephant on elephant in like a pile of elephants. I didn't stitch that, so I haven't got the model to show you, but it's super fun. If you go to my Etsy shop, you'll see the small chart as well as this chart, and they all come together. Favorite frame. Good, this is good. We're going through this. Favorite flowers. So I don't think I've shown you the finished object of this. I've definitely shown you the stitching and the finished stitching. So this is Windowsill Orchids by the Coast Primitives. It is not perfectly finished. I will just throw that out there. It is a lavender sachet. It smells lovely. It will be absolutely fine hanging in my wardrobe. But the octagon that I drew seems to have gone quite wonky in this corner. I am not redoing it because it's only for me and I can't be bothered. But it is not a perfect shape finish. It's finished with some velvet. I don't know why I had this in my fabric stash. I'm trying to remember whether I made a skirt or a dress or something out of it. I don't know. But anyway, it's not a bad colour for this, and the velvet is nice. And I just had a scrap of it left in my stash. So I really enjoyed stitching that, and I really liked the way that those flowers are designed with a very light touch. There's a lot of blank space in amongst that stitching that I would be afraid of as a designer, and she has really used to good effect. So that was lovely. Favourite, I mean, I'm slightly stretching here. Favourite flag. I mean, you've seen that if you've watched any of my videos in the last few days, so I'm not going to talk about it at great length. But anyway, first of my seasonal Union Jack freebie series is Winter. The pattern is available on my Linktree, which you'll find on my Instagram feed. And I did a little tutorial for how I made it into a flag. Top tip, don't drop your flag in your acrylic paint. Favourite stitch from a magazine. Ta-da! Oh, ta-da! So anyway, this half, pretty much from the magazine. This was Doreen Jones in World of Cross Stitching maybe June, that sort of time. I find it really hard to work out which magazine issue is which month, to be honest, because it's never the month they actually come out in. That's more or less all I know about that. So I started stitching it, and then I carried on stitching it, but by this point I was quite bored and I didn't want to just repeat the whole design, so I added in some different scissors, a different kind of hoop, a little bit of fabric. This was the leftover Leo and Roxy floss, and then some repeats of some of the other elements, the buttons and the pincushion and so on. I'm really pleased with how that came out, and I'm really pleased to have finally made it up into the thing that I planned. So in the magazine, it was just a really simple thing where you would put elastic along and be able to stuff your skeins of thread in it. Mine is rather more complicated than that. So I've got place where you can keep bits of thread, pockets for, yeah, here we go, I've got things in it. So pockets for scissors, pockets for, there we go, needles, needle minder, lots and lots of pockets for bobbins of floss. There's enough for 24, and then a big pocket at the back for chart, fabric, so on, and then a floss ring if I'm using skein on floss drops. And then the whole thing has elastic to hold it in place. So anyway, but that is, I think possibly the only thing I've stitched. No, I've stitched things from X Stitch magazine. But anyway, that was from World of Cross Stitching. And that is definitely my favourite magazine stitch of the year. Favourite thing I can't find. Honestly, so I'm collecting together all my things to do this video. And I know I've seen it recently, but I cannot put my fingers on it right now. I made a little biscornu from, I think, Tiny Modernist. I will put a picture here. It is a little gnome and mushroom biscornu. It was super fun. I'd never stitched a biscornu and I really wanted to. She has some lovely, lovely designs. So this is the one that I made. It didn't have a design for the bottom, or maybe it did and I didn't like it, I can't remember. But anyway, I did a different design for the bottom part of it. It'll turn up. Okay, favourite things I stitch for other people. So these are things that I have given away, which is why I haven't got them here to show you. But again, I'll put pictures. I also stitched a biscornu for the Smalls Exchange swap at Stitch in London. And I chose to stitch this because I had seen it in X Stitch magazine and I really wanted to stitch it. And I'm like, I don't need more biscornus piling up around my house, so I'm going to stitch it for someone else. And honestly, it was so fun. It's obviously got this detective theme. So again, I played around with that and added a few extra little elements. But I really, really enjoyed that. And so for the Smalls Exchange, I bought a detective mystery novel set in an embroidery shop, and there was a little magnifying glass that I put on the outside, and a bag of Revels because obviously they are the mystery suite. I can't remember, there might have been something else in there as well. I really enjoyed putting that package together and making that biscornu. This is the small that I made for the Christmas Smalls Exchange that was organised for Stitch in London retreat participants. This one went to Yasmin. This is a sort of sneak peek of the Christmas designs that I've got planned for next year that are going to be slightly stitching themed. So these are button baubles. And then the other thing which I stitched to give away, which I'm not sure, oh no, I have definitely talked about it on the channel now that I think about it. I don't think I've necessarily shown you the finished thing, but I have got a whole finishing tutorial coming up for this. So this is a lavender sachet that I stitched up and I gave it to my mum with her Christmas present. So yeah, it started off being from a kit from Kesslin, but I took it away with me to stitch on, forgot to bring the pattern, and was just like, I'm just going to make it up. So I sort of had enough done of the outside, and then I just sort of made up the inside section. So I'm afraid if you're looking for this exact pattern, you won't find it. Obviously, I won't release it because half of it is not mine, and obviously she hasn't released it because this is not the original design. So I'm sorry, if you like it, you can't have it. Good, we are getting there. Favorite unreleased design. So this was a pretty recent finish. I showed it earlier this week. This is All Good in the Spinster Hood. This is charted and ready for me to do the work of turning it into a pattern that I can release. It will, again, this and Carmen will both be coming pretty soon. I'm so pleased that I finally, it's sort of stalled for quite a long time, this one, because I was really struggling to get the right colour combination, particularly the yellow I struggled with. But I'm happy with where it is now, and I have been, in the last 24 hours or so, working on the next one in this series, which is going to be Mothers of Invention. Quite pleased with that. So there's that, again, I've got a whole little sort of Fierce Ladies series bubbling. So that's All Good in the Spinster Hood. Right, we are nearly there, actually. This is quicker than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, last finish of 2022, question mark. There's still a fair bit to do on this. But, so I'm recording this on the 30th of December. So I've got all evening today, and I've got certainly the morning tomorrow, and I think I might finish this before the end of the year. We will see. But I am very poorly today and very stupid, and I hate everybody and everything. And then it's got some Beatles. I'm going to push for it. Okay, I'd really like to finish that by the end of the year. And then there's one more work in progress. So this is my favourite current work in progress that will not be finished in 2022. And this is the one that I started in the live on Sunday. And it is going to be, oh, one way up, Flower Friends Bertie from Satsuma Street. So you can see I've just started the top of the bird. That is not going to be finished before the end of tomorrow or the end of the year. So I started the year, I think, with one work in progress, which was Carmen, and I started A Saviour's Praise, I think at the beginning of the year. I might have started it just at the end of last year. I'm not sure. So maybe one or two works in progress at the start of the year, and I will be ending with 2 or possibly 3. I'm pretty happy with that. I do not like lots and lots of works in progress. I find it stressful. I find it stressful because I'm like, I should be working on that. Oh, I'm going to forget about that. Oh, I want to start this new thing, but then I'll have even more. And I don't need my hobby to be stressful. I was watching Natalia from Crafting with Natalia the other day talking about her plans for next year, and she said, and it was so sweet, she just said, I made all these plans and then they made me sad because I know I don't have time to do them all. And yeah, I don't want to be in that situation where I'm like, I want to do this and I need to finish this and I put so much effort into that and I really want to see it finished, and it does get overwhelming. Now, I know that not everyone feels like that, and that is completely fine. If you are someone who loves starting, who loves having lots of projects on the go, who doesn't really care about getting them finished or when you get them finished, I mean, absolutely, you fill your boots. But I don't like that. I don't mind having one big project on the go, and at the moment, obviously, that's A Saviour's Praise. But I don't want loads more on the go. I do have some samples that I need to be stitching up for new designs. Yeah, I haven't got any that are in progress at the moment, so this really is it, and I'm quite pleased about that. But part of what my planning is going to be for next year is, what patterns do I want to release when, and when am I going to stitch those, and make sure that I am not heaping too much work on myself from those, because that can feel like a lot of pressure. If I've got a lot of designs that are sort of charted and ready to be stitched, but I'm not stitching them because I want to do other things, that feels quite stressful. So I'm just trying to take it slowly and in a relaxed sort of way that suits me, and things will have to be done when they're done. Obviously, some things do have more of a time constraint on them. So I've got, for example, a couple of Easter ornaments in a similar sort of style to these Christmas ones, but I've been really struggling with getting the design to work the way I wanted. And I just think there comes a point where it's too late to release those. So either I need to have got them stitched, I think, by the end of February, or I'm just going to leave it. And I think there's a high chance they won't get done by the end of February, because there are other things I want to do. I really want to do Mothers of Invention, but I also want to do the next in the medieval series, and I need to have done the spring Union Jack in time to release that in the middle of March. So I think it's likely that the Easter ones won't get done, and I'm okay with that. They can just sit on my iPad, and if I have inspiration before Easter 2024, they can be done for then, or they might never get done, and that really is okay. This is my hobby. It is not my livelihood. It does not need to become my livelihood, and I'm not going to let myself be ruled by that. Like I said, I have got some Christmas charts. I already stitched one of those. There's a couple more, maybe 2 or 3 more. I'd like to get those done in time to release them for people who'll be stitching in Christmas in July. So middle of May sort of time, I'd like to release those. And then after that, who knows? So I'm just trying to not pile too much pressure on myself. The thing which I am committed to doing is Stitch Your Stash 2023, where all I'm going to do for that is pick one chart that I already own to stitch that month. Most of the charts I own are smalls, and so for me that's very achievable to pick it and stitch it within a month. There are some which are bigger, and if it's a bigger chart, it's fine if I don't finish it within a month, but I just want to make sure I'm taking time every month to look through charts I already own and decide to stitch one of those. For January, I need to put a picture on the screen of this. I'm going to be stitching Liz Matthews, Hello from Liz Matthews, Berry Patch. And I'm combining this in Stitch Your Stash 2023 with Wildcard BD Sal from Marumi Crafts. So it's her birthday next week, and for her birthday she's challenged people to take a chart and go wild with the colours. I've done a version of the Berry Patch chart where I've essentially coloured it in with my colours. I've also changed it to be a circular shape rather than the original rectangle. So I've just moved bits around and so on. So I'm just going to show you a blurred version of the chart that I've come up with. Again, I will not be releasing this anyway. You will not be able to do this. This is for my personal use only. I've bought the Berry Patch chart from Liz Matthews, and now I'm adapting it to the way that I want to stitch it with my colours and my shape. But I'm really looking forward to this. So I'm not going to start it until January the 4th, when the birthday patch starts. I'm going to stitch it on this because, going wild with the colours. This is fabric from Cross Stitch Bunny. I bought this at Stitch in London. It is 32 count, and it's a fat quarter, which is going to be by far more than I need it to. And it's this sort of bright lime, yellowy green, mottled kind of fabric. And I think it'll look fabulous with a brightly coloured berry patch on it. So that is what I will be starting first. I'm going to try and finish, like I say, the Darwin sampler by the end of the year. I'm going to get back to doing a Save Is Praise, 20 minutes a day. And I'm going to be, I'd like to finish the Flower Friends, Bertie. Don't know. I might have 2 things going if I haven't finished that by the time I start this. That's okay. And I'm going to be working on getting Carmen and Spinsterhood in the shop. So that's the sort of initial plan for 2023. I'd love to know what your plans are in 2023. Are you going to be madly, crazily planning every moment of your stitching with WhipGo and all the other stitch-alongs and plans and, freebies on the 1st and tomatoes on Tuesdays and furbelows on Fridays or whatever it is. I think some people were doing squirrels in January. I don't know, maybe you love joining in on all of those things. I'd love to know. Or are you going to be a bit more relax and, you know, stitch what you want when you want? Do you like to have lots and lots of works in progress, or like me, do you like to just have a small pile of things on the go? I hope you have a lovely celebration for the end of the year if you're doing that, and that 2023 will be a really wonderful, happy, stitch filled and stitch fueled year for you, and I look forward to spending more time with you in 2023.